Hi, everyone, and welcome to the first episode of Women in Nonprofits. I'm really excited to introduce the president of Junior Achievement Arizona, an accomplished professor, engineer, lawyer, and corporate leader, plus an all-around wonderful human being. Please welcome Katherine, oh gosh, can't say your last name. Will you jump in for me?
Cecala.
Cecala, there we go.
But you could say it's just Katherine and just leave it at Katherine.
Katherine, then. You are obviously a very accomplished woman and entrepreneur for anybody who looks at your bio. Can you tell us just a little bit more about yourself for the audience so they can get to know you just beyond what's on paper?
Absolutely. Thank you so much for having me. I actually don't have any real talents. I can't sing. I'm really not that coordinated, but I'm a really hard worker. I'm dependable and I'm efficient. So my passion is volunteering. I'm a huge LSU fan. I love cheese. I love Disney and Harry Potter. I've taken kids to Disney World and Universal like every year since 1994. I'm a foster failure. That's our kind word that we say for people who foster animals and they end up keeping them forever. I have 3 rescue dogs, and I went to law school as a hobby.
Wow, okay. I did not know the last part, but that already says lots about who you are as a person if you think law school is a fun hobby.
Yeah, definitely.
It's all good things, though.
That was really interesting to hear kind of your personal, backstory. So in terms of your professional history, though, we know that you've worked in a variety of fields ranging from nonprofit leadership to healthcare administration, law, industrial engineering, utilities, business, and probably anything else you could think of. So what inspired you to pursue a career that spans so many different disciplines?
You know, I don't think I ever knew what I wanted to be when I grew up. Instead, I knew that I liked making things better. I liked working with people and problems. And it turns out that I could do that in a variety of fields. I tended to switch whenever I became convinced that I could make more of a difference in a new field.
Yeah, that's really inspiring. I know a lot of our audience members probably might be interested in entrepreneurship, but might not know like what specific field they want to do. So it's really interesting to hear how you kind of got the best of every world.
Yes. Neha and I are in high school. We have a lot of people around us telling us to pick a major, pick a job, pick a career path for the rest of our lives. And a lot of our peers are facing the same thing. Did you experience a lot of difficulties when you were attempting to transition from field to field? And how did you really overcome that?
You know, I don't think I did experience a lot of difficulty switching, but I agree. I thought there was immense pressure in high school to pick the major, pick the right college, pick the right job. And if you didn't pick the right one right now, your life might be just awful. And so just that's so unrealistic. I think the challenge is in switching jobs is really to get companies to break out of their traditional way of thinking about hiring. Show them that skills are transferable. For example, for anything other than an entry-level job, healthcare organizations require or strongly prefer healthcare experience. Why? Sales jobs require sales experience. Why? Shouldn't it be more about the skills and your ability to learn? So I think a lot of times it's marketing yourself in a way and getting past those traditional archaic barriers. By saying, okay, well, maybe I don't exactly have that experience. What I do have is this, and what that job requires are these things, and this is how I can do it. The world is changing so quickly. I think it is ridiculous for companies to say, or for your teachers or anybody else to be saying, pick your job, because we read a lot about how most jobs in 10 years don't even exist today. So if the jobs don't even exist today, why are we telling students that they need to figure out exactly what it is that they're going to do? It just seems short-sighted. It's archaic to tell people to pick a career now. What's important in almost any job is critical thinking and problem-solving skills, a good work ethic, and the ability to communicate well.
those definitely sound very applicable to pretty much any job across the spectrum. And I hope the people who are listening can take you as an example of somebody who can cross all of these barriers.
Yeah, definitely. Just going off of the idea that life is constantly changing, we know that life is often really unpredictable. So, what were some of the greatest challenges, personal or professional, that you faced, and how did you overcome them?
I'm going to get a little personal here. I mentioned that I went to law school as a hobby. I did that because I was going through a horrible year. Had always dreamed that I would get married, I have this perfect marriage, I have 4 children, and I'd have a great career. Well, as you know, you can't always control life. I had a year where I learned I had infertility and I couldn't have children. My marriage was breaking up. So I needed to build new dreams. At the same time that was happening, 2 family members passed away, and my brother's partner died of AIDS, and I learned my brother was dying of AIDS. I was devastated, and I was afraid that I would start crying and would never stop. I thought, well, I just want to disappear into a really big hole. But my coping mechanisms, these were all these things I couldn't control. I couldn't control the world around me, and all these things were happening. So my coping mechanism, and everybody's is different, but mine was just stay busier than usual. So I was working 50 hours a week in my job, and I was volunteering. And so I enrolled in law school at night, and I went to school 5 nights a week while continuing to work and continuing to volunteer so that I wouldn't have to think about life. Going to law school, it helped keep me busy so that I didn't have to think about things. I didn't have to spend time thinking about the things that I couldn't control. And surprisingly, it helped me in another way. I actually did pretty well in law school. I mean, I was going as a hobby, so it wasn't my intent. I was doing well, and that was something I could control. So it was this added benefit. It kept me busy, and it said, hey, for the things you can control, sometimes you can make those a little bit better. And so I guess that's part of focus on the things you can control. And for me, law school, it ended up being a skill I could use in every job that I had. So that was a side benefit. Oh, thank you.
Yeah, that's really inspiring to hear. I know this is definitely on a much smaller scale, but as high school students, we have to deal with college decisions, and oftentimes that means getting rejected, and there's nothing we can really do about that. So it's inspiring to hear how you were basically focusing on things you could control. I think that's definitely we can think about too.
Thanks.
Just to kind of bounce over to the more professional side of your life, women are often severely underrepresented in leadership, whether that be STEM or healthcare or even nonprofit work. How did you really make your way to the top?
Like many women, I don't think that I've been very good about promoting myself or asking for more money or saying, hey, I'm interested in this other position. Men tend to be better at that. That's something I should always have done better. But, I think I always made the mistake of thinking that if you work really hard and you do a great job, then the work's supposed to speak for itself. Unfortunately, life isn't fair. And sometimes the best don't always win. I sound so depressing. And I don't mean that, because there are systemic biases out there. And statistically, we know that women don't make as much. But at the same time, working hard and doing a great job and making things happen, getting great results, it does get noticed. To the extent that I've been successful, I think it's because I have worked really hard and I've worked with incredible teams. I don't do it all. As a leader, I hope that what I'm doing is communicating a vision and inspiring people to be part of that vision and saying, hey, this is how we can do this together. Sometimes as motivating others and recognizing the potential in other people and encouraging them. So when you ask, how did I work my way to the top? I think by working really hard and working with great people. And together we've accomplished some great things.
I think that's a really nice message to hear. I feel like in society, when we see celebrities or like the president, it's always one man or one woman doing everything. But it's nice to hear that you did rely on support networks and teams, and that it's okay to not have everything together because there will always be people there for you.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, definitely. Going off of the, like how you said you view your team as probably the most important thing, what are some qualities that you think are the most important when it comes to leading a team?
Well, I do think, one, it's listening and understanding, because I can't control you. I can only control myself. So when you have a team, you have to understand what motivates others, what's important to them, and communicating in a way that they can hear it. That is setting a vision that people want to follow. I mean, what's a leader? If you're a leader and nobody follows you, then you're not really a leader. So I think part of that is creating a vision that is compelling and a plan to get there. And people need to trust you. Have you demonstrated you by your actions and your words that you are trustworthy? And so people want to be a part of that. And recognizing them, like I said, it is not about me, it's about what we all accomplish together. So I think being successful by working together, celebrating together, that people want to be a part of that. And that's how you get a great team to do some great work.
Yeah, that's really interesting to hear. I know we are trying to become good leaders ourselves. So that's great advice, especially for all of our listeners out there.
Mm-hmm.
And speaking of the places that you have led, I'm pretty sure the audience wants to know about what you do at Junior Achievement, the Friendly House, and others. What were some of your most favorite projects and moments at those different places?
Okay, well, I get super excited talking about junior achievement and nonprofit work. I mean, nonprofit work, I love because I'm really driven to try to make a difference and to find value in life by helping others. So junior achievement, I feel like we're making this huge difference. So our mission at Junior Achievement is to prepare kids to succeed in work and life. And we do that by serving over 80,000 primarily low-income Arizona kids in kindergarten through 12th grade every year. And speaking of working with teams, we're able to do this work with the help of 8,000 volunteers. So we're really efficient. And most importantly, our programs make a huge difference. Kids who have JA, kids who have those programs, they're 30% more likely to graduate college. They have 34% higher critical thinking skills. They earn 20% more than the general population. And they're 143% more likely to start a business. And then their businesses tend to be much more successful than other people's businesses. So you all talk about entrepreneurship. Turns out that if a JA student has a business, their businesses employ more people and are more successful. In fact, 60% of our alumni of color have started a business, a successful business. And 45% of our JA alumni businesses employ more than 20 people, as compared to non-JAs who only employ like much fewer people, like 8 people, and junior achievement ones employ at least 20. So we employ more people, more successful, and they just have a better life. So we demonstrate the value of our programs through those students. So do we have time for me to tell one quick story?
Yes.
Okay. So what so inspires me is that I get to see the difference in our work. So we get letters from kids, we get thank yous from kids all of the time. So seeing the impact of our work just makes me feel great. So here's one of my favorite stories. We got a letter from a 7th grader, and he said, "Junior Achievement, thank you so much for teaching me about budgeting in my class. I took the budget spreadsheet that you gave me home, And I shared it with my mom because my mom says that we don't have enough money to pay our bills every month. And my mom is working really hard at 2 jobs. And so I showed her the spreadsheet, and together we made out a new budget. And we figured out a way to make pay all our bills every month. And my mom was super excited and said that she could have a higher credit score, and that made her happy. But the really best news of all is we have $10 left over at the end of each month, and I get to keep that as an allowance. Now, what that says to me is we changed this kid's life. But not only did we change his life, we changed his family's life. And that is what we do every single day, changing the lives by giving these kids the tools that they need to really succeed in life. And it's just amazing. I love it.
I mean, that's absolutely incredible. I can see why you do what you do and why you're good at what you do, because you're so passionate about JA and every project that you've worked on. And that itself is just extremely inspiring for us as a smaller nonprofit and for anybody else who is in the audience and maybe looking to found their own.
Well, thank you.
Yeah, we're definitely inspired by all the work that you're doing at Junior Achievement Friendly House, like Caitlin mentioned, but being part of so many nonprofits must take a lot of time and energy. So how do you maintain a good work-life balance?
Okay, that whole work-life balance thing, I don't know that it's completely true. I think, there's sometimes people talk about seasons of their life and they're going to focus on one area or another. I also think that people always find the time for what's important to them. And you've heard that old adage about, like, if you want something done, give it to a busy person. I think that's true too. I don't really have any other big hobbies. Like I, as I told you in the beginning, I don't have really like these other great talents. My passion is volunteering. So I work and I volunteer. I mean, I do things, I hike, I do that too. But I really think that if something's important to you and it's giving you joy, you find the time to make it happen.
Yeah, it's amazing how you're doing what you love. It seems like your work and life aren't necessarily separate. They're just connected because you are really doing what you enjoy.
That's a great way to put it.
And it's a great lesson for all of us. I also found out by reading your bio that you currently teach a master's level class in philanthropy and nonprofit innovation at ASU, which is incredible. Is there a sneak peek of information you can give us for any aspiring nonprofit founders out there?
Well, I'm teaching fundraising and resource development at ASU in their master's program. And I think the key messages I have around fundraising, well, first off, anybody working with a nonprofit, most nonprofits fail because they don't have enough resources. They're founded by people who are passionate about the mission, and they really, it's about delivering the mission and the mission and mission, and no money, no mission. So you have to find the resources. And how do you find the resources? And I think that's about mission matching. That's listening and understanding your donors or your potential donors and connecting your mission to their passion. Find out what's important to them and make that connection for them. So if somebody's interested in homelessness, and I'm Junior Achievement, well, we don't do homelessness. What I would do is I would talk about how we help prevent homelessness. You're interested in that? If somebody says, I'm interested in financial literacy, well, that's easy. If because we teach financial literacy, I'm interested in children, we're serving children. I'm interested in how our economy can be better. Well, guess what? We're doing it. So you listen, you find out what's important to them, and you help them see that connection. So you teach them the joy of giving. You make them feel good about giving to you. So you're not ever really asking for money. I hate to ask for money, and I have to do it every day. And I try to never actually ask. Instead, I get super passionate and I listen to them and then try to get them to the point where they say, wow, that's really cool. How can I help? And then I say, oh, well, since you asked. So I get them to ask me, and then I share with them the opportunity to give money.
Oh, that's a good strategy. You kind of avoid the guilt of asking and you just get them to do it instead.
I know, and I'm supposed to, and here I am teaching this class about fundraising, and you're supposed to say this shouldn't feel the guilt and all that, but the fact is I do. So I do try to turn it around and get them to be excited about it, and then I can help them with what it is that they want.
Yeah, that's probably something Caitlin and I should try doing in the future, just for our Invest in Her nonprofit. But going back to, I guess, just your life in general, we know that you're a very impressive woman, but who are some female role models who have influenced your life?
Yeah, I know this is so, everybody says this, but it was my mother. You know, my mother was so amazing. She loved unconditionally. She always saw the best in people. And I was just so blessed to have her. And I wish I was more like her. Every day I'm like, oh my goodness, how could I be more like her? Somebody who is just always seeing the best every day. So.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think mothers are definitely probably the biggest female role models that we all have in our lives. So that's definitely a great answer. Thank you.
And since we're about to kind of wrap up the interview, what's the best piece of advice you ever received? And what advice would you like to give to young women our age?
You know, I feel like it's be true to yourself. And by that, I mean, be true to your values and who you are. I mean, that sounds great in theory, but at the same time, to be effective and to accomplish goals, you have to understand others and adapt to be the most effective with them. You know, I mentioned earlier about communicating in a way that other people can hear your message, because I can only control me, not them, because that's the only part of the conversation you can control. So you can't always say, well, that's not me, that's not my style. So you do sometimes have to adapt. But the other piece of advice is you don't always have to follow the advice people give you. Here's my example. I was told in a performance review at a very large, prestigious organization. In the review, I was told that I was too enthusiastic. Would they have said that to a man? Okay, that's just a little nothing. I was told that if I wanted to get ahead, that I should be like Mary. Okay, so who's Mary? Mary was the only other woman who was in the leadership meetings. They said, see Mary? Mary doesn't speak in the meetings. You should be more like Mary. Whoa, can you believe that? I was actually told, if you want to get ahead here, don't speak in the meetings. Don't be enthusiastic. What was I supposed to do? Just like fade into the wall? My supervisor meant well. They were telling me this is the culture, this is the advice, and this is how things were done. I chose to ignore that advice. That wasn't who I am. And you know what? I did just fine and I was promoted. So you don't always have to follow the advice you're given.
And definitely not slightly sexist advice either.
Yeah, I wouldn't say slightly sexist. That's pretty
probably
clearly
majorly sexist. I was just trying to be euphemistic. Nice, spare the man.
Yeah, that is interesting to hear, though. We're definitely glad that you decided not to accept that advice and stood up for your own values. We know that as girls who are interested in economics, we can often hear advice that's really just trying to make us conform to standards. But the fact that you were able to blaze your own path is really inspiring to us.
Oh, well, thank you.
And with that last question, we are done. Thank you again to Katherine for sitting down with us today. And we hope that your inspiring story and thought-provoking responses will help our audience on their own journeys through life.
Well,
to all of our viewers,
good luck.
Thank you. To all of our viewers, if you enjoyed this video, please stay tuned for future episodes and don't forget to like and subscribe to our YouTube channel. Thank you.